Welcome to the Leverton on Everything podcast. I'm your host, Leverton, and on this podcast, review everything from movies, books, plays, computer mouse pads, computer mouses, microphones, whatever I want, basically. That's the first rule. And the second rule is that every review is under 10 minutes. So I'm going to talk about X-Men 2, X-Men United, and maybe I'll talk more about the franchise because, to be frank, I don't remember much of this movie, although it does have Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart, so it's always good when those two are in the same movie. And generally, the X-Men franchise is really interesting because it's kind of like the why can't I say that word? The antithesis of the MCU. Because the MCU gets bigger and bigger and bigger and tells more and more stories, and the focus becomes more and more floppy, I want to say. But X-Men at its core is all about the struggle of mutants for acceptance. And at the core of that story is the story of the friendship between Magneto and Professor X. And Magneto's whole shtick is shaped by his experiences. He grew up in Europe during the Second World War, and he was sent to a camp where someone did experiments not only on him but his family. And I don't think it's in this movie, but there's like a really great I think it's so they rebooted X-Men later, and I think it's in one of the reboots where they show that more of that backstory, but here it's just hinted at. And the more I talk about the movie, the more I remember what I liked about it and what I didn't like about it. So I did like the interaction between Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, but the actual movie seems very glossy and shiny, and they're like, hey, we're making a superhero movie. It's the X-Men. Everybody likes the X-Men. But they can't escape the main story. Not the plot, but the story of the X-Men, which is all about, aliens, like not aliens in the sense of aliens from another planet, but aliens within, right? And how do you accept people who have the power to destroy you? And I think the metaphor actually breaks down if you think about it, because it's supposed to be a metaphor for, civil rights in the United States, or how the Jewish community has been treated over the years. But in none of those cases do the people who are victimized or targeted have superpowers. So in this world, the mutants want to say, hey, accept us, but we can turn you into a puddle with our eyesight or whatever. And the mutations also are quite random. Some give you great strength and healing powers like Wolverine, or some turn you into a frog creature like Toad. So, yeah. I watched, I want to say last year, I went through all of the X-Men movies, and I watched most of them. And so I think the X-Men are also coming to the MCU eventually. So I think if you want to give yourself a taste of kind of these classic X-Men movies, like what were comic book movies like before the MCU, you can take this. And it's kind of weird because it used to be that my favorite genre of movie around this time was the comic book movie, because the it's just like the characters are so iconic, right? And you can tell so many different kinds of stories. And I think that MCU kind of ruined that for me because they don't really tell multiple different kinds of stories. Like, what I mean is, this was a universe with X-Men, with Batman, and then eventually it would be The Watchmen. Not a really good movie, but like Kick Ass, great example of a comic book movie, you know. So there are these like, and there's probably one that I'm forgetting, but there are like these great comic book movies. The first part of Hitch, not Hitch, Hancock. Um, yeah, but the MCU, there are great movies in the MCU, but there's a lot of not great movies as well. And if they had like trimmed the fat down, like I always enjoy an MCU movie, but there are things that should not exist, right? Like the Eternals or Secret Invasion, not a movie, but it was horrible. And then people criticize the when they actually do take risks, like Miss Marvel or Echo or something like that. Yeah, well, I mean, people criticize Secret Invasion and Internals too. Yeah, so would I recommend it? Yes, for sure. Another thing that's X Men United. Another thing that I would recommend is my son's podcast, the Everything and More podcast. It is all about animation for the first season, and each episode is about an hour, which gives us a lot more. I'm on the first season, by the way. It gives us a lot more time to talk about the series. So he'll appreciate it if you check that out, and I'll appreciate that too. And I appreciate you. Goodbye.